Hi everyone, Sarah from Maths with Sarah. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to be looking at this question and it's got a mixture of different shapes. We're going to be using various different techniques. I don't think the overall question is too challenging, but there are definitely quite a few steps. So as with all these videos, I would encourage you to pause the video around about now, have a little think about how you would go about doing this question. And then when you're ready and you've had a little go, even if it's just a quick think about what method you would use, then come back and I'll go through it. Okay, so what we've got in this question is a right angled triangle. We've been given two of the lengths. We've got the hypotenuse as 9 meters and this length here as 6 meters. And then we've also got a quarter circle here. And the question is asking us to work out the area of the quarter circle. And we've been told to give the answer correct to 3 significant figures. Now, at the moment, it doesn't really matter about that. But at the end, we need to make sure that we do put it to 3 significant figures. Okay, so we need to work out the area of this quarter circle. So let's forget that it's a quarter circle for now. Let's pretend that it's a whole circle. What lengths, what dimensions do we need to work out the area of a circle? Well, so the equation is for area is pi r squared. Hopefully you'll remember that. So it's pi times by r squared. So we need to know the radius. It's going to be the same for the quarter circle. The only difference is that we're going to be dividing it by 4 because we've only got a quarter of the circle rather than the whole thing. So we need the radius. So this length here is the radius, but also this length here is also the radius. So this length is going to be a challenge to work out, but this one should be relatively easy. So we've got r here. And this is what we need to calculate. Now, when it comes to triangles and lengths of triangles, we can either use Pythagoras or trigonometry. The way that I would work out which one to use is if there's an angle involved somewhere, you're going to use trigonometry. If there's no angles, use Pythagoras. So in this question, we haven't got any angles given. Therefore, we know that we need to be using Pythagoras. So Pythagoras uses a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now, c squared is always the hypotenuse, which is always this long side, the longest side, which is opposite the right angle. So this here will be c. Doesn't matter out of these two which one's a and which one's b. So we're working out side b, which is the radius. So if we rearrange this equation, we subtract a squared from both sides, we're going to end up with b squared equals c squared minus a squared. So if we put the numbers into the equation, we can work out that b squared equals 9 squared minus a, which is 6 squared. Okay, so 9 squared is 81, 6 squared is 36. So then we're going to end up with b squared equals 45. So we can work out that b is equal to the square root of 45. I would encourage you to, where possible, use root 45 as your answer because you're going to be needing a value to correct to 3 significant figures. So it probably makes sense to try and leave it as this. But if you really prefer working with numbers, the number that you should get out from this is 6.7082 with various extra decimal places. But yeah, as I said, either make sure you use enough decimal places that it's not going to cause you a rounding error at the end, or make sure that you're using the exact value by using root 45. But I accept that some people just aren't going to feel comfortable using this. So use this number, make sure you've got enough decimal places. Okay, so if we go back to this diagram, we've worked out the length of this side. We now know what the radius is. The radius is root 45. So what do we do next? So we're now going to go back to the area of the circle. We know that this area, the area of the whole circle, so that would be like if this was coming all the way around here, the area is pi times by root 45 squared, or root time pi times 6.7082, etc., squared. And this is a calculator paper, so I suggest that at this point you put this into your calculator, and what you get from that is 141.4. Okay. Is this the end of this question? Well, no. So at the moment, we've figured out the area of the entire circle, but we've been told that we only want the area of the quarter circle. So what do we do now? Well, there's different ways we can do this. We can either say that we want 90/360th. So if we divide each of these degrees, we've got 90 degrees that we need out of the full 360, and times this by that. What you get if you do that, if you do 90 divided by 360, you actually get a quarter. So if we times this by a quarter or divide it by 4, we'll have our answer to what the area of the quarter circle will be. If we do this divided by 4, again, I suggest that you keep this number in your calculator so that you can just divide the actual number in the display completely by 4. What you're going to end up with is 35.34291735, etc. So the last step, this is the step where I wonder if a number of people will fall down for not going back to the question, checking they've worked out exactly the right thing. It wants you to give your answer correct to 3 significant figures. So if we're working to 3 significant figures, we start counting from the beginning of the number. We've got 1, 2, 3 significant figures. We want to chop the number here. So we're going to look at the first number after this line. If it's above 5, we'll round this up. If it's below 5, like it is in the case here, we can leave this number as it is. So to round this to 3 significant figures, we've got 35.3. And then our units, we're working in meters. But because we found the area, we've involved 2 of these meter lengths. Therefore, we're going to be doing meters squared. And that is your final answer for this question. So hopefully that was useful. Hopefully that you were able to follow that all along. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate to drop me a message. If there's any particular questions or topics that you'd like me to cover, again, just drop me a quick message and I'll try and get back to you as quickly as possible. I would also really like it if you could like and subscribe this video, show that it's shared as widely as possible to help others. And thank you very much for watching.